This one in. Good. Good. Everybody's up. Okay, we're good.
There you go. I'd like to call the Town of Fraser's regular board meeting on August 16th, 2023 to order, part 2 at 7:14 p.m. And can I have a roll call?
Louis Gregory,
Eileen Waldo,
Brian Sigmund,
Morel Quinn,
Katie Souls,
and Philip Vander. We are going to remove item C from the consent agenda, which is resolution 2023-0804, and put that at the top of discussion and possible action. And then we are also going to make the Joint Facilities Oversight Committee agenda review into an executive session. So can I please have a motion to approve the agenda with those changes?
so moved.
Second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from August 2nd and resolution 2023-0803, surety reduction for Elk Creek condominiums at Grand Park, phase 4, lots 6 and 7.
I still move.
For a second,
Second.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Now is the opportunity when the public can address the board. Here in the building, you raise your hand. I'll call on you, come up to the podium, state your name if you live in the town of Fraser or not. We have 3 minutes to address the board. People online, you can raise your hands digitally, in the same rules, just let us know if you live in the town of Fraser or not. So let's start here in the building. Is there anybody here in the building that would like to address the board for items not on the agenda? No? Anybody online? You can raise your hands and digitally. Okay, going once, going twice. Okay, we are now at public hearing and possible action regarding 214 Byers Avenue conditional use.
It's Alyssa, so allow her to come. Yeah. Good evening. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. Can everyone see this okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so as mentioned, this is a conditional use permit at 214 Byers Avenue. The request is to construct a 2-story addition to the existing single-family home with a reduced front setback. And approval of a conditional use is required in order to construct the addition because single-family homes are designated as a conditional use in the underlying B zone district, and as well as the request to reduce the front setback. That's part of the conditional use. So staff found out after the Planning Commission hearing a few weeks ago that Section 19.2.110 also states that any conditional use requires approval of a major site plan. Staff does feel that with the limited scope of the proposed addition to the existing single-family home, that a site plan provided as part of the conditional use application would be adequate to meet the requirements of a major site plan, and that an additional application should not be required. However, if the board did conclude that, if the board did conclude that a conditional use should be approved, then staff does recommend that the motion would include that a conditional use would fulfill the requirement for a major site plan. So if you do choose to go that route, we do have that as the recommended motion at the end of the presentation. So again, the current request is for the review of a conditional use permit and that associated site plan. And the applicant is Sarah Weimer. The property owners are Nicholas and Karen Crabb. Again, 214 Byers Avenue. And the existing zoning here is business with the Riverwalk mixed use overlay. And the proposed land use is just the existing single family home with that addition. So the Planning Commission did hear this request on July 26, 2023. They did unanimously recommend approval of the conditional use permit to the board. And that hearing, of course, did not require a notice or a public hearing. It was just the recommendation. Just a little bit of context, 214 Byers Avenue down here highlighted in red. And here is the zoning map that does show that business zone with the RMU overlay. And it is 2.23 acres. And just a little bit of background on the zoning, section 19.2.340 does permit single family dwellings. Sorry, they're permitted with approval of a conditional use in the B district, but they are not permitted in the RMU overlay district. And section 19.2.250 requires a 20-foot front setback, 10-foot rear setback, and 5-foot side setback. Of course, the applicants are requesting a reduction to that front setback, but they do meet the rear and side setbacks with this request. And then just with that addition to the front porch that they're requesting, this section 19.2.270 does allow an encroachment of up to 6 feet in the front yard for a covered porch. So again, the proposal does comply with all other zone district standards, including the minimum lot area, width, and open space. And section 19.2.255 of the development code has standards for the RMU overlay district. However, those did not apply to this zone district being business and the RMU overlay. It only applies to commercial and mixed use, as single family uses are not permitted here. So here is a look at the conditional use site plan. Again, we have the approximate 20-foot front setback here. You can see the small encroachment here in the front yard. It's not substantial. Meets the 5-foot side setback and the 10-foot rear setback. And here's a look at the proposed elevations. Again, it does blend sort of seamlessly into the rest of the existing house. And the referral we sent on to referral agencies June 28th, we received comments back on July 7th and did send that summary to the applicant on July 19th. And excuse me, according to the code, this hearing did require a notice. We did send the notice to the paper. It was published in the paper at least 14 days in advance of the hearing, and the letters were mailed to all property owners within 200 feet. Then on to the conditional use criteria. The first was whether or not the conditional use is compatible with adjacent uses in zone districts. And staff does feel that the conditional use does not, the adjacent properties in the area consist of other single family dwelling units. And the proposed site plan includes an addition for a garage. Staff does not feel that it would have impacts on, I think I skipped on here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I thought I was frozen. The conditional use does not request to change the existing use or the zoning. We feel that it would be compatible with the other uses in the area. The second criteria was whether it meets the existing use for minimum lot area, setbacks, maximum building height, parking, and signage. And staff does feel that it does meet all these requirements. All the architectural elevations, the drawings provided with the application demonstrate compliance with the maximum allowed building height. It is under that 45 maximum allowed building height. It meets, again, the rear setback and the side setback, and staff does feel that the request for the 17-foot 10 front setback versus the 20-foot setback is not substantial. It would not have extensive visual impacts to that. So, and there's of course no signage included with the request. So the third criteria is that the conditional use will not change the predominant character of the neighborhood, including the bulk and scale. Again, this is an existing single family house, and there's other single family houses in the area. So again, staff finds that the reduced setback is minimal and will not have negative visual impacts. The fourth is that the conditional use will not overburden the capacities of the existing streets, utilities, parks, schools, or other public services. And again, the use is not changing with this request. So staff does feel that this complies with this criterion. The fifth is that it will not cause an unacceptable effect on the use on light and air, transportation, facilities, schools, and parks. And based on the request and then the review, staff finds that this complies as well. The fifth is that it will not cause an unacceptable effect on, oh, I'm sorry, I just read that one. The sixth is that it will not cause an unacceptable effect upon traffic, congestion, or impact pedestrian safety. And again, only expanding that garage and after construction should not have any impacts on traffic or pedestrians whatsoever. The seventh criteria is whether the conditional use will contribute or that it will not contribute to an undervalued use of the property. And staff finds that the proposed conditional use would serve to maximize the value of the use by allowing maximize the value of the use, on the property by allowing the existing single family dwelling to be expanded. The eighth criterion is whether or not the conditional use conforms with the comprehensive plan, and staff does find this in the affirmative as well. The main goals and policies being promoting sustainable development, which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. And we know that the property owners have lived in Fraser for several years and operate a local business there. And so staff feels that the proposed addition would allow the owners to better utilize their property in a way that meets their needs without compromising, again, the visual or character of the area. Another goal of the comprehensive plan that we thought was relevant that properties should be developed in a manner that preserves and provides a open space, an acceptable amount of open space. And this, of course, with the addition, it exceeds the required open space. With the addition, the lot coverage would be approximately 24.88%, and that's about 75% open space. So again, definitely meeting that criterion. And then the final is whether the conditional use has a history of compliance by the applicant or property owner with the code. And again, the property owners have lived at this property for several years and have demonstrated a history of compliance. And they did submit all the required documents and have worked with staff to address any comments. So definitely feel that criterion has been met. And with that, staff recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the conditional use permit with the associated site plan fulfilling the requirement of a major site plan. And that concludes my presentation. And I know that the applicants are here online as well as the property owner, so they're available for questions as well.
Okay, trustees, any questions for staff at this stage?
No, I think it'd be useful to have the site plan up though. for us
Sure.
to look at.
Yeah.
And from the planning commission meeting, the setback from the road. It's for that shed, and it's at the same line and the distance as the existing home. We noticed that the garage is set back, so there's room for parking in front of it. So just for those that were doubting one about that.
Yes. Yep.
No other questions? Comments for the
Yeah.
planning?
I'm a little confused because back on the 19th of July, we approved a conditional use permit for 814 buyers. We didn't go through this whole process. I mean, we basically set a precedent by approving that. So why is this coming before the board? Because, you know, we've already approved it. We've already approved conditional use permit in this district. We basically, at this point, from my perspective, can't really deny it unless there's something wrong with the site plan, I guess, but you know, we set a precedent for it.
I'm sorry, you approved one at 814 Byers Avenue?
Yes.
Could I speak to that? I think at that meeting, you guys allowed the applicant to move forward with a conditional use application. You didn't approve the actual conditional use permit.
So the
For the same project.
If I remember, we approved the conditional use. I'll go back to the minutes and see what it says, but I thought we approved the conditional use permit at that point.
So approving them to go through the process. So one thing that we're working through that's coming to the board in September is a change with zoning. That's gonna make this a lot smoother, because right now you have the business zoning and then you have the Riverwalk mixed use overlay zoning.
Right.
And the confusion between some staff was what would take precedence as far as which zoning district, because one of them allows these additions as a conditional use. And the Riverwalk mixed use district did not even allow it as conditional use. So we were trying to see direction from the board in the interim for this application. If they would approve this going through the conditional use process, which allowed them to go to the planning commission at the last meeting. That got this approval to come forward here. So it's really approving them to go through the conditional use because it was allowed on one zoning overlay, but not the other. And the current conflict was that the Riverwalk mixed use overlay took precedence over the business overlay. Which would have prevented this property from going to the conditional use, so.
Okay. No, it does say use, conditional use permit application. But I think Brian and I both voted against it because I thought we should clean up that, you know, the overlay district issue before we start moving conditional use. But
Well, here we are today. Okay, does any of the trustees have any other questions for staff before we want the applicant? No. Okay, applicant, do you want to do any presentation or address the board? We're trying to get
Sarah-
to Sarah.
Sarah's the applicant. This one. And then I think the owner might be on too. This one. Nope, not Kevin. This one, Kevin and Karen. Yeah. Karen.
Sarah and Karen.
Yep. So,
Okay, applicants, do you want to go ahead and address the board?
How's it going, guys? This is Nick and Karen. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. Well, we just want to thank you guys for seeing this issue again and like helping us figure this out because it is pretty imperative for this to happen for us to kind of make this our like forever home. And we're hoping that the board approves it. For that reason alone, pretty much because we love it here. So, do you want to add anything?
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, thanks. Any questions for the applicant? No.
Sarah owns it.
No, she said no. Okay, go ahead and open up the public's to the public hearing. Is anybody in the public here in the building like to comment on this? No, anybody online? Okay, go ahead and close the public. And board, do you have any more questions or questions?
let me follow up on my previous point. So if we approve this, then we are setting a precedent to approve subsequent conditional use permits.
We're not necessarily.
Yeah, every one of these is gonna be different.
Yeah, everyone's different, that's why it's special use,
So,
depending on what they're doing, it depends on if they approve it or not.
so it still goes to the planning commission for a recommendation for approval or denial, and then it's still required to come to the board as conditional use. So one item of discussion, what the changes that are coming to zoning overlay is, do you want this, do you still want this to be a conditional use, or do you want it to be permitted as a use, right? So if it's permitted, it does not need to come to the board, it's conditional use, it does come to the board.
And that's what we'll decide on in September.
We're not deciding that.
Yeah,
Let's not confuse- let's
Clean up
not
the zoning
confuse
issue,
the matters.
because that would solve this.
Well, part of the issue from Lewis is they found some. Contradictory stuff with the overlay versus the current zone, so. Baseline, it's we're planning commission's working through that. Tonight is one house in saying, do they have the right to do it? We have the right to say yes or no. With a special use permit, the planning commission felt that by right ownership of the house, they should be able to improve the house without. Going for any business.
Right, because it's been residential.
Well, I don't have a problem with that, I was just like, us to clean up the code, the confusion on the code, because they're conflicting, right? And if
That's
we
what
clean
That's
that
not,
up,
that's noted.
then it
That's
doesn't
not
have
what
to
we're
come to the
addressing.
board.
That's been noted.
Okay.
And we're gonna clean it up, but that's not what we're doing. tonight.
Understood.
So we're not gonna solve that tonight. It's not on the agenda. It's what's on the agenda. Okay, any further? Any motion?
So all we're approving is the conditional use.
For this particular list.
Right, so they can move ahead with their project.
For 214.
And I love that they're adding to the house they live in.
Yeah.
Right, and have a house for
Sounds
a
like,
growing family.
sounds like a motion.
Oh, okay. I move to approve resolution 2023-08-05. 214 Byers Avenue conditional use.
Second,
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, congrats, guys. Enjoy.
Get going.
Get going.
hey,
Get
keep
going.
going, torture's over.
Find the contract. Okay, we are now at discussion and possible action regarding, and I did, I would like to make one, I'd like to move the updates in front of the joint facilities oversight. So that we can just let everybody go at that end, rather than having people when we go into executive session, just noted, so.
Okay.
We'll make that, everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
It's choosing.
Yeah, we're almost perfect. Okay, great. So we are now at discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2023-0804. Certain reduction for Elk Creek condominium and Grand Park phase 3 lots 4 and 5.
So I want, Brad, I wasn't clear when you spoke earlier about
You didn't
this.
speak earlier.
Yeah, I guess.
Wasn't that-
Oh, well, yeah. We weren't saying before. So we're back now.
Tonight.
So the
I've got
surety,
Greg with me here. He's also the town engineer.
okay, the surety is to cover what and has it all been completed?
So the surety covers the production of the plans and it's the intent, I believe, because they have the ability to request partial surety reduction no more than once a month for getting assets basically in the ground. In general terms, it's for us, our end of it is the utilities end, which is the water and the sewer, the valves, the pipes, the fire hydrants. That's basically what we do. The HOA is going to be managing their stormwater. The HOA manages their sidewalks. The streets are not ours. So the only items that will be accepted to the town will be the water and the sewer, the fire hydrants, the valves.
Okay.
That is all that really affects the town. Normally on that, at this point, we basically look at what assets are in the ground. what are the statuses of those assets? And we just did the preliminary acceptance of that. So for phase 3, lots 4 and 5, I believe they are. Those were accepted, and we anticipate the final or the preliminary acceptance for lot 4 here shortly. They're just finishing up certain things around a lot. They're still going to be working on landscaping in the future. An example would be the meadows. The meadows, there was always quite often there are items that need to be followed up before final acceptance. And we haven't had any problem with Grand Park and final acceptance items, so we've had a good run on it, but with Grand Park. So this is just for the water and sewer that are in the ground. Currently, there's water and sewer in the ground. It's passed all the tests, all the valves have been turned. We would recommend the surety reduction. So, and I believe it states what everything other than 20% of the initial. So, yeah. Okay. Does that answer your question, Katie?
I think so.
I apologize. This is my first time answering questions for you guys.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
I did have a question. So the 3 conditions that are outlined in the memo. The money that's remaining, is that enough money to guarantee that whatever needs to be finished is going to be finished?
That is the intent of the 20%. Yes. So when they submit a request for a reduction, we at the beginning, we have a full list of every asset that goes into the plan set and the value of each item. And then Paul, I'm speaking for Paul, I apologize, he's not here to state that, but the Public Works Director would review all the items that have gone in the ground. And he would go down the checklist, and anything remaining, he would go and look and see what those values are. And then he often speaks with the contractor as well to see if, hey, are those rates, what are we looking at? Sometimes contractors can do things for a less expensive price than for the town, where they've got the ins and we might not have the prices, but all those prices are set at the time of the plan sets and approved. So he's just gone down the list, checking off number, and then he calculates what the total number is. So, okay.
But these conditions are all above ground.
And
My point is, I'd rather not have these reductions come to us before the conditions are met.
well, I believe in the code, it states that you can get your, you can
Stage your.
correct. What was that?
It still leaves $95,000 plus in the security for the landscaping. Which is one of the only 2 items left.
So the municipal code states, with approval of the Board of Trustees, the performance guarantee may be reduced to an amount
Hey,
not
guys,
less than
Can we listen to, I'm sorry, can we go ahead and listen to start?
Greg Steve, sorry, town engineer. The town code, the municipal code says, after preliminary acceptance and with approval of the Board of Trustees, the performance guarantee may be reduced to an amount not less than 20% of the initial guarantee. So that's the process we're working under here is they've issued 125% of the value of the work. And he's completed a significant amount of that, which has been inspected and approved. And now he wants to reduce his surety on the remaining work. So that he can recoup some of that surety value for the work that's completed.
And the preliminary acceptance for him is just so he could go ahead and look towards getting his CO occupancy. So that's what he's looking for, and that's why there's a preliminary. He's gonna finish up all of the landscaping, once everything is knocked out, but everything is still on the warranty. It's they're not our assets as far as the utility department is concerned. Those are all HOA assets within his property.
Thank you. Thank you for the, any further questions, discussions, motions?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-04.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next is Treasurer's report, Miller.
Gonna look really familiar. That's good. Basically, it's Rob's report until I figure out my own voice and learn a lot. So you want to go ahead? Next slide.
Oh, it's not a presentation, sorry.
Oh, okay, so basically, it's the statements of funds and your sales tax revenue. Go ahead. Your general fund reserves and operation positions held steady in August. The actual revenues in August were $22,522,408. July was $22,437,543. So it held steady, but we are beginning to see the larger payables coming in from the projects, Fires Avenue, bigger invoices from contractors that are completing the work. So I agree with next slide, the assessment. Oh, no, not that one. I agree with the assessment that August, September and October, we're going to watch those funds drop steadily to complete the projects that are already being done. Next slide is your sales tax. Sales tax revenue is the blue line at the top there for 2023. It's tracking, yep, that one, thanks. It's tracking right along with 2022 totals. Actual sales tax revenue for July, or no, excuse me, these are June sales tax numbers, if Rob never told you that before. These numbers are from June. They're compiled and sent to us by the first part of August. So the June numbers were 494,755 in 2023. And that's, I mean, it's 488,813 in 2022. So they're just neck and neck right there. And I do kind of expect those to keep trending up because then we'll be getting July. And I think we have a lot of good stuff going on in Fraser for July. Next, there we go. There's my expectations. And the sales tax are about 79% of the budgeted amounts. And we're at about 58% of the year. And then the next slide is, I was going to give you just a little update on the budgeting for 2024's budget. I've been working on getting the ClearGov website online. I'm going to be inviting the managers, the town department managers, to get to experience their first time setting up their requests. I think at this program, I'm really feeling very positive about it because they get to put in a request, type in the numbers, and those numbers automatically transfer right into the budget. And I think it's going to really streamline the process. So we're going to work on that and get them started, and probably get everybody gets to get the projects in and get rolling real soon. And then it's my understanding that 2 board members were reviewers. We're working with, on to review the budget and to follow along. I'll need your emails probably in September, early September, because as I work with all the managers to get them going and get things rolling along. I'll want to invite you guys to have your own login to ClearGov and you can just review and see the progress. And another positive thing about that is I did get the 2022 audited numbers in, so now we're gonna have a really good base. I was just looking at that while you guys were out at the ponds, and I was really kind of excited to see those numbers, and then we're getting different levels of where adjustments need to be made and make a real good, clear budget.
Lori, were you pulling from the same two council members as last year?
I'm new, so if
So last year, we did the budget committee, we've done that several times throughout the years, where we have a couple of board members that would like to attend the budget committee, allows kind of a deep dive look at the budget every year. Last year, who was on that? Brian and Lewis, right? So, you know, we like to open this up to see if there's two board members that are interested in doing that again this year. If you're interested in doing that, it could be the same, it could be some new ones. We just like to provide that opportunity to be able to kind of do that deep dive and ask a lot of questions about the budget to help provide some of that internal understanding of the board as we go through the budget process this year.
thank you.
I'm fine with doing it again too.
Right.
Unless somebody else.
I'm fine with them doing it.
If you want some new blood, I'm happy to jump in.
No.
And three, so then-
That's all I'm up to.
Or what do you think?
Doesn't matter.
Here's what I would suggest. And if you guys are both running for mayor, I think that'd be advantageous to both of you to be on.
There you go.
It's no offense for us, but I mean, they kind of stated they're gonna run for mayor, and having that knowledge, it's. But we can validate that the board, right? That way both of you will have it, whoever. Somebody else.
Well, if you were happy to come in and talk to me about whatever you would like to. So,
Are
okay.
you guys okay with that? Yeah. You're okay with that? I mean,
I have probably more of a financial background. NBA and everything, but you know, it's fine if they want to do it.
I was just making a suggestion, but. You want to do it? Parnell doesn't want to do it, don't do it.
No, I'm happy to do it. Probably running the budget next year and helping with that, so, yeah, there you go. Okay. We guys can arm wrestle, draw sticks, flip a coin.
Flip a coin.
Wrestle, what the
We have good with the last thing.
But we don't have to.
Not on the agenda.
We don't have.
Yeah.
Let's
Oh,
bring it
right.
back. Sure.
Beginning of September.
Let's bring it back to the next, can you write that down? Let's bring it back to the next, you guys can figure it out.
Unless you have any questions, that's it. Thanks for it.
Next is. Land exchange.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Good evening, trustees and mayor. Everyone here that's in this, welcome. So, we've been talking about the Art Center. And some different locations that work for the Art Center, which is formerly known as the Fraser Center. Fraser Creative Center.
Or the arts.
The Art Center.
Art Center.
Fraser Center for the Creative Arts. There you go. So with that, a lot of the discussion has been about space, it's been about land. I will share my screen here.
Oh.
Can you be a co-host?
Yep.
Good. See my screen there. So. We have been talking to Bison Development. We have Greg Beckler here today. I believe we have Kevin online. Discussing some potential options. We've had a lot of discussions with the planning commission, EDAC, and just at the board level, discussing Clayton Court and its future, looking for a home for the art facility, looking at making this more of a legacy building that has space sufficient for the vision for the art center, to maybe also be accommodating an outdoor type of amphitheater space as well. And to do that, we need a good amount of land. The town of Fraser currently owns this parcel here, on the north end of Clayton Court. Anyone know where that's at?
For the paid parking lot, or-
Yeah, so now it's a paved parking lot and this road's been, well, it's been paved with millings. Just for the interim there. So the town owns this parcel here. Again, you have Costigan Main being developed here, those two buildings here, Fraser Distillery. Everyone have a good sense of where we're at. So Bison was successful in acquiring this parcel here to the south, which has that middle barn building on it. And we currently own this parcel behind the distillery, which has been, we received a grant for that, just to put out some concrete, some landscaping. It's been like an unofficial park, and we've also used it for the mural festival and for the bazaar, the Fraser Artisan Bazaar, farmers market of sorts here as well. As far as looking at some opportunities here, and talking with Bison, they have come up with a preliminary design plan for this parcel with the barn on it. And once that parcel is built, it kind of limits what you can do with this land. You do have a sewer main trunk line that does come through here, so you cannot build on that space. You could put a parking lot on that space, but it does kind of restrict the land here a little bit. But if you had this adjacent parcel, you could actually have a good amount of space. So if we actually go to publish a request for proposals for an art center design and construction, we would have a good sufficient space for this. This could be used for type of an entryway to the Main Street initiative we've been looking at for Clayton Court. The discussion we've been having with Bison is if they would be interested in a land swap, a land exchange for the current barn lot in exchange for this lot, following a proper property assessment evaluation to compare the valuations of each parcel. If it's a clean exchange or if there's going to be a cash subsidy for that as part of that exchange. So with this, the barn lot, Bison currently has this plan. They have it ready to go through the planning commission process. They will continue to do so. And look at making that ready so they can break ground with that in May next year. And the decision from the board tonight is really asking for a general approval to see if this is something that the board wants to move forward with. If you do want to move forward with it, it's going to allow staff to work on two different things. It's going to allow staff to work on working towards a ballot initiative to take this land exchange to the voters this November, which is a requirement per state statute. As the parcel behind the distillery that the town currently owns has been used for a public purpose, which has been for this kind of unofficial park, and it's been used for events for the mural festival in the past as well. So now that, so since it's been used as a public purpose, any type of exchange of public lands requires voter approval from the registered voters here in Fraser. So that would go for a November. As far as allowing Bison to maintain the timeline and be good stewards with their investors, they're looking at this May construction timeline to kick off construction. If voters, this would allow the staff to work towards agreement contingent on voter approval. And it would also allow them to start doing an official survey, do some official soil sampling on the site to actually look at working on some platting and some design for the parcel itself. that they can go ahead and start doing to line it up so that they can match the same timeline. So ballot comes through in November. If voter approval comes through and approves this land exchange, we're able to do the land exchange. They've done the survey that's in the borings. They can still maintain the same timeline that they would like to do beginning breaking ground in May. And we would then be the owners of this barn property right adjacent to our existing property here on the north of Clayton Court. If voters do not approve that, it would obviously prevent the deal from happening. And as part of what's outlined in the memo, I think there's some ways that we can work through offsetting some of the costs related to Bison's work for actually doing the architectural plans and things on this site. We can work through that. I think there's a way to do that. But this will allow them to present items for design on the site for approval through the planning commission that would actually be them working as a consultant for the town. The town of Fraser would actually be the applicant moving through this process because they do not have current ownership of the site. But it does allow them to work towards getting that to where it needs to be, so they can still break ground either way. If voter approval does not go through in November for the exchange, they can break ground on either site and move forward with the project. So what's being asked for tonight is, does the board want to support staff to move towards this direction, which would allow for an agreement to be drafted, find the legal the means to do so, bring that agreement forward to the board for later approval, and also approve at the same time. We need to start working on a ballot initiative for bringing this to the voters in November. We will be bringing that ballot language to you on September 6th for that ballot language approval.
Wow, let's see.
That'll be approved, and then September 8th is the deadline for submitting that ballot language to the county to be on the November ballot. So we don't have everything figured out right now. This is an idea that came up that would help provide for the Art Center and also provide for Bison Development to do what they want to do. Looking at the two sites, there are some differences. You obviously have a riverfront property where the barn lot is. That property is about a 1/4 acre of land. The piece of land that the town currently owns is 0.37 acres, right there behind the distillery. And it's more adjacent to existing commercial and new development that's being conducted right now by CASA. So the discussion that I'd like to facilitate tonight, is this something that the board wants to do? Is this something you'd like us to pursue? If so, we will move forward with these two different paths of an agreement and the ballot initiative. If not, then Bison, and we both know the direction moving forward for Bison to submit their applications and move forward the barn lot. We maintain ownership of this property here, and nothing changes as far as the site for the art center here. So you are kind of restricted to land. We may be able to look at some different opportunities, but I just wanted to open this up for discussion.
So what's the size difference between the piece that we own where our existing park is? And our other piece that's
The barn,
covered with, not with the barn, but between those two pieces that we have.
oh, that we do have.
Yeah. Because it seems like that the property that we have down by the river isn't big enough for parking and an art center.
Right.
By adding that additional lot,
Mhm.
we really open it up.
So that's 0.43 acres is our property that we own.
Okay.
So 0.43. And this is a 1/4 acre with the barn lot. 0.43 quarter map on the spot. Math on the spot stuff.
So it's. Distillery is quite a-
It's been a long day.
It's not so much the size, it's the location of plots.
Right, exactly.
And then what are they planning to do with
4-plex or 5-plex?
So the current plan is that we discussed so far, is a 4-plex with a commercial. Space in front of it, that's looking at more of a conceptual drive-through, I think a ramen. We don't know for sure what it's gonna be, but some type of a drive-through food commercial venue. That would have 4 townhomes here on the rear, and also some good discussions about, the road access to get to the townhomes can also be used for road access for the back of these properties as well. So that's something that would come to the planning commission for approval and go through that process there.
The mural park is 50% bigger than the barn one.
0.25 and 0.33, so 1.7.12 difference.
So there would be compensation to the town. Possibly, being on the road, with a lot of.
Eventually.
I do really like the idea of another commercial spot, right where the meal park is. I just feel like it makes sense for Fraser right now. And I like the idea of the arts and having more space.
Next first, you know, what grade, what do you guys plan on doing if you did get that? I mean, it's gotta be commercial and.
Well, I mean, my question, what are they planning on doing as a mural park if they do something like that?
I'm Greg Beckler with Bison Investments. We haven't really designed anything yet. We just kind of, it was brought up, hey, would you guys be interested in doing this land swap? It would probably be, yeah, townhomes, and then I would think if we did commercial, it'd be on the eastern side, just because it's Doc Suzie in an alley, so we'd have to front something that's a little more pedestrian. But yeah, it would be for pretty similar to what we're designing on the other site, and maybe we get another townhome and another 1,000 square feet of retail. But we haven't planned it yet. That was kind of the request, just because we're spending a lot of money planning the other site, and it was,
Sure.
I'm happy to do it, but it does cost money, and I'm not an architect. But so. Yeah, we're not.
I'd like to have that extra space down in the river, that'd be awesome, we're gonna get to do something.
It's gonna be a hard sell to the community.
You think so? Why?
You don't think the public would rather have an art center by the river? That they enjoy the art or commercial? Oh.
Well, I'm sure the distillery will be disappointed.
Oh,
Because they had quite, once it was, they put it in, they were looking for the art center right behind it, but there's just not enough room. And visibility won't block by the, it's costly, so there was no reason to have it there. It was gonna be kind of a showstopper. It's like, oh, you can't see it. It's like, it's not.
I'm in favor of it.
Thanks.
I think we should try to see what the public says, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if we can have some, just quick renderings that would show how it could look. And
Well-
spring for that, until if it's gotta go for a vote, we wanna make it
The
happen.
same building we had before, but they're better. The design we did for the arts, they're
Yeah.
better than it does on the lot we have.
Yeah,
We're planning
absolutely.
it on the lot we have.
Yeah.
Begging for parking.
Mhm. Yeah, and
It's
that's-
very much conceptual. Right? So, yeah, we could work towards, you guys want to spend more money and get some conceptuals for what it could look like on that site with a larger land.
I think we should not spend any more money.
No,
I think my conceptual.
Okay. Well, I'm just, if we're gonna, we really want to. For the vote, but
We have there's a whole nonprofit that has been formed to take care of buildings. We don't need to be funding any more of it. So let's not spend any more money on conceptual designs for.
Okay,
I was just gonna say, we are planning to get that to you, and we have two architectural groups designing both sites, so we can show you something.
You're designing the art center?
No, not the,
Yeah,
art.
that's-
That's what we would do on both sides. You're talking about the arts.
We're talking about what it would look like
I apologize.
to have
Okay.
that extra lot out there.
Steve, look at this, think it over, maybe come up with some decent things of how you could best use this space.
Mhm.
And maybe it's very, he can do some very, maybe general sketch kind of things that
Yeah.
are very.
He's a talented guy.
Well,
I think it's Joe.
yeah, we can start with the sketch we already have. And then just add, it, because before we had a much bigger design, and they had to shrink it down.
But I think that's all that's now gonna be developed. And I think the visibility, I mean, if it's the main streets, okay, but you're never gonna see that from 40.
But I'm saying, we don't have to do a whole lot of redesign,
Yeah.
it's just now they're looking over the river versus.
It's the washrooms.
looking-
I think it's gonna be a hard sell. I think it's gonna be a hard sell. I think the public. Sorry, Greg, but the public does not like what's building there right now. And I think that saying, hey, these guys are gonna develop the next slot over is gonna be really hard sell. People are saying, is that art center? And then you go, no, that's not the art center. That's- people.
Well,
It's gonna take this board and them to.
well,
It's not gonna pass.
when Eastman and Dock City gets built out, they're not gonna like what's there either, because
I'm just telling you what.
everybody that owns lot there, they're all asking. Can we get a 55-foot building like the town's getting? So that's gonna become a straight when you decide to rebuild. Not a few people, it's the whole side of Easton.
Well, it's not compared to.
All your neighbors.
Anyhow, I'm for, let's move forward with it. Let's see if it works. Yeah.
I would say that as far as the timing of the ballot initiative goes. I think Greg, you guys are still on task for finishing those buildings in October, November.
Correct.
So you actually get to see what a finished product looks like, when the public will be able to see what it because. You may comment all day about something that's in progress, but the finished product is the finished product.
When do we get the painting on it? It's next year?
Mhm.
Okay.
And the art center is at 35 feet or 45 feet tall, it's not gonna be a much smaller building than what was. I know, but people think the art center was gonna be big open glass dome on the front, but that's on the highway, but the whole back side of the park, 35 feet or 40 feet tall.
So I think we can work with Fraser Valley Arts to try to do some campaigning for this, a little bit of information, educate the public about what that site can use as an art facility. And like Philip said, let them do the work. They're the Fraser Valley Arts, they're in charge of this, and it's. Let's let them run with it a little bit, and let's do our part as far as the ballot initiative and agreement. And I think they can assist with that education.
Great. Make it so.
Enough direction.
Motion. We don't find out the motion, but we don't.
We don't-
No,
Everybody got the thumbs up?
I think we're.
Everybody got a thumbs up? There we go. There's your direction.
Thank you. That's great.
It is.
Okay.
We're. So now.
So I'd like to start off by welcoming Eric Scott, who's our new town planner. If you come up to the podium and give us no more than 10 minutes, or tell us about yourself and all the great things you do for the town of Fraser.
Certainly. Well, good evening, Mayor and trustees. Thank you for inviting me up to introduce myself. I feel like I've given this spiel to multiple people over the past week, but my name is Garrett Scott, originally from Texas. My wife and I moved here to Grand County in April of this year and started as the town planner just last week. So clearly, based on some of the discussions that we've had this evening, there's a lot of exciting things happening in the community regarding planning this burgeoning Riverwalk district and plenty of other things happening. So it's very exciting for me to step into this role and assist the town with this growth and development. One of the first items that I'm looking forward to is getting an update of our comprehensive plan for the town. It was last completed in 2010. And we have the funds budgeted for that. I believe already in this year's budget, will likely carry over into next year. But we already have the funds budgeted and we'll be looking forward to getting that process started in the near future. Baseline has been doing a great job as well with a lot of the planning duties. And with time, I look forward to taking on those responsibilities so that those services can be provided in-house again, have more local on the ground customer service to our residents and the development community here in Fraser. So if you all have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
What's your background?
So my background is actually in civil engineering. For 6 years, I've worked as an engineering consultant, primarily in land development and transportation projects, traffic engineering, transportation, site plan design. So I think, the transportation element is also a very critical one here for Fraser. I know the Lyft bus service is a great system, but it can be improved a lot. And there are, studies that are being in the early stages of implementation, more from the Winter Park side is my understanding, but lots of exciting things around that as well that I hope to lend my perspective to.
No. Like alternate routes off of Highway 40
Certainly.
from Safeway to County Road 8.
Okay.
Yes.
And roundabouts. I know that can be a 4-letter word sometimes.
Well, thank you.
Thank you all.
Great, yeah, welcome.
Any other updates? Michael, you got an update? Nobody else? Okay, the next. Huh? Executive session. Somebody want to, should we include Garrett in that, this executive session? Might as well get him on board.
Yeah, right.
We got clear alerts by fire.
Do I need
Who
to?
wants to do?
I'll do it.
Brian?
No, okay, good.
Include Garrett.
Just one.
I move to enter into an executive session for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, development strategy, for negotiations and or instructing negotiators in CRS section 24(6)402(4)E regarding the joint facilities oversight committee, agenda review to include town manager Michael Brack, wastewater treatment plant superintendent Joe Bukwa, and town planner Garrett Scott.
A second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? And then just for the public, we will not be coming back. So you guys just know that we're gonna close the meeting and I won't be coming back on one. Everybody have a great night.